Doors may just be revamping one of its locations to be filled with a ton of new mechanics and features. And in this video, I'll be telling you everything you need to know about this Doors update news. Alright, so as you probably know, after Ranked Mode released, the developers did a massive Q&A session, revealing aspects about the future of the game. And one of them in particular regarded an expansion to one of the main locations inside of the game, and that is the sewers. Now, although I personally think the sewers are fine as is, according to the developers, sometime in the future it could receive an update to become a little more distinct gameplay-wise. As currently, despite just looking different from the rest of the mines, it plays out pretty much the exact same as normal rooms. So, in this video, I'll be deciphering what this potential Sewer Plus update could look like, and what could be inside of it. So, with all of that being said, let's begin. Alright, so as a quick rundown, the sewers are a room type located in the mine's floor, and they will start appearing after players complete the nest, so after door 150. Design-wise, they differ drastically from the rest of the normal mines, as they have a more green and sluggish feel to them paired with a more industrialized and modern look, at least when compared to the rundown mineshaft-themed rooms. Now, although visually the sewers adds a nice contrast to the rest of Floor 2, gameplay-wise it's pretty much the exact same. It just adds a little bit of visual variance to the floor after players complete the nest, which although is completely fine as is, but apparently, according to this message, it's possible sometime in the future, the area could receive a gameplay makeover. So, what exactly could we see with this update to the sewers? Well, when I first saw this message, my mind immediately went to the second Seek Chase. Now, if you recall, in the content update, the Mine Sewer Seek Chase was completely revamped to now feature both Seek and the Queen Grumble battling against each other to catch the player. Now, although I am all for this interaction between the two entities, gameplay-wise it is barely explored in the actual chase sequence, as the Queen Grumble barely appears at all some of the time, and on top of that, the sequence itself is extremely short-lived, which wasn't an issue in its version before the content update. Now, I've made an entire video going over why I don't really like the Mine Sewer Seek Chase because it just doesn't use all the potential it has. So, I think it's probable that part of this Sewers expansion update could include some gameplay changes to the Seek Chase. Now, as to what these new features could be, I do have a couple of ideas. For one, I definitely think it's likely the Queen Grumble will play a larger role in the chase. Now, I think their presence in the introductory cutscene is very good, as well as when they first appear for the first time in the actual chase. But besides those two instances, they are basically non-existent. The Queen Grumble can pop in here and there, but all of those other times they can't actually reach the player, so they just serve as a cool visual rather than anything that affects gameplay. You can literally walk right up to them and they don't do anything. And I think that really should change. The Queen Grumble should be able to block more paths, causing players to take an alternative route. And actually getting too close to them should result in them catching you rather than just nothing happening, which as I said is what happens currently. They need to become an actual threat in the chase sequence, rather than just a cool visual. So I think this would be a consideration of the developers if they ever were planning to revamp this chase sequence to be more engaging in terms of gameplay. Additionally, on top of the topic of the sewer chase, I also think it's likely more room variants could be added to it with more unique gameplay. Essentially, before the content update, the sewer chase had sections where players needed to jump across large sections of pipes, and although this would have been a welcome addition to the post-content update version of the chase, it unfortunately wasn't re-implemented. So, in order to make the gameplay of this sequence less repetitive, as right now all you do is blast open doors, I think it's likely something like these rooms that required players to jump would be added back to spice up the gameplay a little bit. Now, the Seek Chase in the sewers is a central part of this room type, but what changes could be made to the normal version of this room without Seek? the version you can just walk around in and avoid entities like Russian eyes. Well, I think one of two things could happen with these normal sewer rooms. Either it is given a unique gimmick, or it is given a unique puzzle. If you recall, another room type in the game can be found in the hotel, and that is the greenhouse. This location has the unique property of being completely dark, so rush cannot be detected through a visual cue. And on top of that, the entity spawns are more frequent. These characteristics only exist within the greenhouse, so I think something like it could be incorporated into the sewers, albeit less intense as this isn't the final stretch of the game. One way a gimmick could be introduced is by adding a unique entity that only spawns in the sewers. Think of something like snares in the greenhouse, although it could be something like haste in the back door, where the entity serves a more gameplay central role. Either way, I'd assume if the sewers were to receive a gameplay overhaul, a new entity exclusive to it could definitely be present. It could, however, be an environmental characteristic exclusive to the room type rather than an entity, such as the darkness in the greenhouse. If this were the case though, then I'm not sure what it could be, so let me know your ideas in the comments. Lastly though, the final thing that could be implemented into the sewers to make it more unique gameplay-wise would be, of course, new puzzles. Now, Doors has always been somewhat lacking in the puzzle department, but I think it's possible that some new ones exclusive to this room type could be implemented in order to spice it up. Now, much like other things on this list, we are not entirely sure what these puzzles could be, but one idea I have is that they could be themed around water. Sewer systems as a whole are generally regarded to contain lots of water, so what if hypothetically in some sewer rooms you had to prevent the room from completely flooding by swirling around and interacting with valves or something like that? Or maybe it could be like those flooded tunnel rooms where once the players enter the room, already submerged in water, they have to navigate through a maze without drowning. This could tie into that environmental aspect I mentioned earlier, but puzzles, and maybe even the entire room type, could be themed around water, and that could be an interesting gimmick to make the sewers gameplay more unique. All in all though, a sewers update indoors could potentially be implemented in one of the future updates. And even though we don't know much about it, this video served as a way of getting our theories, speculations, and ideas for what could be implemented into it. Still, given the messages by the developers, if this were ever to come, it wouldn't be out for a while, as updating this room type isn't one of their top priorities, which I completely understand, as they have a bunch of other things to work on. Still, I am excited to see what the Doors developers create down the road for the sewers, as although I personally think they are fine as is, I definitely wouldn't complain if more content was added to them. So, with all of that being said, let me know in the comments what you think of this hypothetical sewers update, as well as what you think should be added to it. And thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.